Hi, everyone. I wanted to check in real quick today and do a brief book chat on the most recent book that I finished. I'm traveling a bit for work this week, but so I'm not in my usual environment. But I typically I like to do the video as soon as I can after I finish a book because I like for it to be fresh in my mind, just so that I can still relay it in really a fresh way. So the book is called Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage, and it's by Haruki Murakami. There it is. You can see it. Maybe is it glary? Okay. Um, yeah. So this was published in 2013 in Japan, and then it was published the following year in 2014 in English. And this translation is by Phillip Gabriel. I did not like that cover, by the way. That's a bone I have to pick with publishers. Sometimes the electronic editions of books have different covers than the hardcover or the paperbacks, and I know there's probably a reason for that, and I think I've mentioned this on other videos, but I don't know what that reason is, and it sort of annoys me because I really like the cover that was on the hardback of this edition. But anyway. So this is the fifth Murakami book that I've read. I read previously 1Q84, which I did not do a video on because I read it before I was doing videos. I have read The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, which I also did not do a video on. I have read Horrible Wonderland and The End of the World twice. And then this year I actually read Kafka on the Shore, which I did actually do a video chat on, so you can check that out if you are interested. But I am a Murakami fan. Those are only five of his books. He's written quite a few more, so I have quite a few to go yet, but I really do usually enjoy his work, and this book was no exception. So what this book in general is about is it is about a man who's in his 30s. He's like 36, and he earlier in his life, 16 years prior to where we start the book, he had belonged to a set of friends that he had grown up with or he had met in school, and they were really, really tight, and he felt extremely connected to them, and they just had a great relationship with each other. And the thing is, all of their names corresponded to a color, in Japanese. So there was see if I can remember them. Ao, which means blue. Let's see, Eka, which means red, and then Shiro means white, and Kuro means black. And so Shiro and Kuro, I think her name was Kuro. Let me check my notes. Yeah, Kuro. Those are two girls, and then Eka and Ayo were boys, and then Sakuro is male himself. But the thing is, his name actually in Japanese means to make or to build, and so he doesn't have a color. So he always sort of felt, even though he felt extremely connected to them, he always sort of felt like sort of a little bit like the odd man out because his name did not correspond to a color. And so 16 years prior, something has happened that has separated him from the rest of the group, and I don't want to go into what, because that was part of the fun of reading the book. It's sort of this mystery of what has happened in the past. But anyway, in the present day, when the book starts, Sakuro has a girlfriend, Sarah, and she sort of gives him an ultimatum, that he really needs to that she feels like he's blocked, and so he needs to actually go back and come to terms with what has happened 16 years previously. So, in his current life, he's sort of this disconnected, alienated person, and you see this a lot in Murakami books. And he meets a young man and becomes friends with him, and his name is Haida, and that name actually means gray field in Japanese. So, it was another person with with a color in their name. But other than that, he has this one friend, but he's pretty isolated, and he's just never found a connection to anything outside since what had happened 16 years previously. So what he does for a living is he works building train stations and remodeling train stations. He had always loved train stations, and he had actually left his hometown where that original group was located to go study in Tokyo when he graduated school, to go to university so that he could be an engineer and work in train stations, and that's ultimately what he did. So that sort of sets the stage for the book, is sort of his search then to reconnect with his past, and then by reconnecting with his past, then connecting with his present. And I thought that a couple of the main themes of the book that I took away from the book were actually connection and reality. Not unusually also for Murakami books is sort of ideas about what our reality is. When earlier in his life, Tsukuru when this had happened 16 years previously, it had been so devastating to him, he had actually contemplated suicide at that time, and he's remembering that, how unhappy he had been back then, in the present day, and the thought occurs to him that if he had done that, the world wouldn't be the world that it is now. If he had gone out of existence back then, that it would be a different world today. And later on, one of the other characters that he encounters in the book says something similar when she says, if her friend hadn't invited her to take this pottery class, her world would be different, and therefore the world would be different. So, and then there's other sorts of aspects of reality that he's having to struggle with deciding if it was real or not. This sort of dreams, he has recurring dreams, and they're largely of a sexual nature, and it's sort of mixed. I won't give away what it is about necessarily, but the character Tsukuru really struggles with, was that a dream or was that real? So that reality is, I think, of questioning reality and questioning what his reality is and what our reality is one of the main themes of the book. And the other one's really connections, because Tsukuru works as a train. He works in train stations, and he finds comfort in train stations. And often when he's distressed, he will actually, find it relaxing to go and sit in train stations and watch the trains come and go with all the different connections. And the connections are actually, mentioned in the book. And so to me, this was like really giving us the sense of how things are connecting together. And the colors too, I think that this definitely then extrapolates out to the connections between the people and between the characters, in the book. This is illustrated in a really nice way through classical music, which is also in 1Q84, there is a mention of Janáček's Sinfonietta that actually in 1Q84, that actually is playing then when the reality changes for this character, and she enters another reality, and sort of the announcement of that change is the Sinfonietta playing. And this book, Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage, is similar in the sense of one of the characters, his friend, actually introduces him to it's a Liszt piano suite, and it's called Le Mai. I have to read it because it's in French. It's called Le Mal du Pays. Le Mal du Pays. And what that means is it means a homesickness brought on by a pastoral landscape, sort of nostalgia for a different place and a different time. And his friend Haida gives him a recording, brings a recording over to his apartment, and they listen to it, of this Liszt piece, and it is the piece that's actually played by Lazar Berman. I think I got that name right. Yeah, Lazar Berman. And they listen to it over and over. And so Tsukuru really remembers this because one of his friends from the past, the 16 years ago, in the group he was in as a young boy, one of the characters, Shiro, played the piano, and she played this piece. So he felt connected to it, not only through his friend Haida, but his friend, back in the past, Shiro. And then later on, as he goes on this journey, he meets another character who has a connection to this piece and is playing it by a different by a different artist. And the artist she's listening to is Alfred Brendel. And so I checked this on Spotify. Both of these are actually on Spotify to listen to, and they are different. And so this really illustrated to me how everyone has a different color in this book, and how everyone, has, as far as this music went, it's the same piece, but it's being heard a little differently. It's being interpreted a little differently from character to character. And to me, this was really symbolic of, like life, how, each individual is sort of their individual and interpreting life through their own lens, and hearing it, hearing life and also seeing life through their own lens, and then, sort of giving off their own sort of energy and color. So I hope that made sense. I really love the way that this classical music piece sort of wound its way through the book. At the end, it won't be giving away any spoilers to mention that this piece is playing, and as that scene goes on, it actually switches to the next track, which is the sonnet 147 by Petrarch. But this sonnet's actually the next track on this recording. So his Years of Pilgrimage suite, there's year one is Switzerland, year two is Italy, and then it goes into the sonnet, I believe is how it goes. And so, but that really, to me, it really felt like, okay, well, his years of pilgrimage are now, over, and he's moved on to the next thing. And then, so I actually looked up Petrarch's sonnet number 147, and it doesn't have anything to do with colors, but it is a beautiful sonnet about the beauty of life, and how the pain and how mourning is also mourning, mourning, is also part of life, and is also part of the harmony of life. And I believe this is a lesson that Tsukuru learns through the course of the book as well. So I think I'll leave it at that. I will have other Murakami books on my reading list because, like I said, I do have quite a few to catch up on. So probably on next year's TBR, there will be more Murakami coming. But anyway, there will be other stuff in the meantime, so stay tuned for that. Catch you soon. Bye.